whether you're buying a new car or a used car, the whole process of going to the dealership and everything they put you through has always sucked. But over the last few years, it seems like it's gotten even worse, and I'm about to tell you the experience that I went through trying to buy my Jeep Gladiator. So if you're new to the channel, this is Offbeat Motors, and I'm Corey. If you're coming back for more of my videos, thank you for continuing to show support. So let's get on with today's topic, and that is the buying experience I went through of trying to buy this vehicle until I was finally able to do so. And I say trying because there was a lot of fails that came along, and it was not on my part. Deals just fell apart. So if you recall, or let me catch you up to speed. Before this, I had a 2018 Dodge Challenger RT Shaker, and absolutely loved that car. Had it for about 4 years, and I felt it was time for a change. Jeep had finally come out with a pickup truck based off of, pretty much their Wrangler, called the Gladiator, which is what I own now, and I've been wanting one ever since it was announced. Absolutely fell in love with it at its debut. Fast forward to now, I finally was in the position and I was mentally ready to bite the bullet and get rid of the Challenger and go with the Gladiator. So I started looking around. It's not something I just jumped into. I started looking months ago, looking at all the different options and packages and everything else that you can get, and doing some research on them and whatnot until I finally decided what I actually wanted. So the day finally came for me to contact a dealer and start working out deals and whatnot. And the first dealer I contacted was one that I had always done business with. Well, not always, but I had done business with them in the past. So I was familiar with them, they were familiar with me, I knew their practices and policies and everything else. And years ago, it's actually where I bought my Volvo from. They also do Jeep, have a Jeep dealership. But I was comfortable with going to them, and I knew I would be able to get the vehicle through them. Because of my past experience, not finance or anything like that. That was never an issue. So I contact them. They do just about everything over the phone and internet, and then they deliver the vehicle to you. Unless you want to test drive. Well, you get a test drive. You can test drive it and everything else, but I already knew what I was looking at. I'd already test drove one because a friend of mine has one, so that was no big deal. I knew exactly what they drove like, and told them what I was trading in. They gave me an appraisal over the phone, and they broke the deal down and everything else and said, okay, this is what we can give you, this is what we're going to sell you the vehicle for, blah, 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 here's the breakdown, what do you want to do for financing? And I told them what I was looking for term-wise. They said, okay, so this is what your monthly payment would be, money down, did all of that, whole process, and we struck a deal. Everything was fair on their end, everything seemed fair on my end, and I was okay with the terms. So they're like, okay, well, we don't have the exact one that you're looking for on our lot, so we're going to have to dealer trade it out and get it from another lot. Give me like 2 days and we can deliver the vehicle to you, to your home, and we'll pick the Challenger up, and you just sign everything through DocuSign online. If you're not familiar with what DocuSign is, they send you this stuff, a link to the documents, and then you electronically sign them. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I was all excited. I went and bought my Alien Sunshade that I wanted because I already had it picked out, knew what I was going to get and whatnot. Jeep owner, and you got to wave. It's apparently it's a thing. And I got this in the day before I was supposed to get the Jeep because it came overnight. I was like, cool beans, sweet deal, whatever. I'll have it for when I get the vehicle. So the day shows up, they call me, and they're like, okay, we're going to deliver the Jeep this afternoon. This morning we're going to send you over by about 10 o'clock, all the paperwork to sign, everything's done and over with. The financing had already been put through, it was approved, so it was good to go. I just had to sign on the dotted line and deliver the vehicle, So I'm like, okay, cool, I'll wait for the email to come through with the attachment to go to DocuSign and sign everything. 10 o'clock rolls around. They said I was going to have it by 10 o'clock. It did not come through. 10:30 rolls around, still nothing. 11 o'clock rolls around. My phone rings, and it's the general manager, not the salesperson that I had been dealing with. And he's like, He introduces himself, starts off with the whole congratulations on buying the Jeep, blah 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 blah. I was like, oh cool. I'm thinking off the bat that this is kind of cool. The GM's calling me to congratulate me and stuff like that, and then he hits it. Yeah, so your payment's not going to be this, it's going to be this now. And it was $80 more. And I was like, whoa. Like, yeah, we're not going to honor that. We're going to do it for this instead. And they basically added almost $5,000 to the price of the vehicle. Just like that. Don't know why, but they tried to pull a fast one at the end. Right at the end, just before I was supposed to sign and get my vehicle. They called and changed the deal. So I was fuming. I'm like, no, that's not the deal we made. This is the deal right here. Run it off. And he's like, yeah, we're not going to honor that. This is what we're going to do. So if you want the vehicle, this is the deal you're going to have to accept at this point. And I was like, you do understand you were supposed to send me the paperwork for that previous deal already so I could sign it, and then the vehicle's supposed to be delivered to me today in a couple of hours. He's like, well, if you still want the vehicle, this is the new deal you're going to have to accept. I'm like, you've already put the previous deal through to the finance company to get it approved, and it's all been approved for that. He's like, yeah, it's no big deal. We can go back to them and get it reapproved. So if you want it, it's going to be $80 extra a month, unless you want to pay that money up front to keep the same payment. I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with the payment. It was, this is the deal we made, and now at the last minute, you're not going to honor it. He's like, you got to take it or leave it. So I told him to take the Jeep and drive up where the sun don't shine, and hung up on him. A couple hours later, the salesperson called me, apologized, and still tried to convince me to take the new deal for the higher amount. I said, no, that is not the deal we made. So unless you're going to honor that deal, this is over with. Don't call me. And I was just astonished that I had nothing but positive things to say about this place before, up until that point, and I could not believe what was happening. So it was a done deal, done and over with. I was fuming. I let a couple days go by, and then I just, got online, started looking around and whatnot, and I'm like, okay, well, let me just start contacting dealers. Let me ask them what their out-the-door prices are, breakdown of fees and stuff like that. I knew I was going down to Houston, so first thing I did, I was like, well, let me contact a dealer down in Houston, and they actually had the exact vehicle I wanted on the lot, and I'll explain to them that I'm a buyer. If I'll be down this weekend, and we can make the deal. I'll buy the vehicle this weekend. So they refused to give me any pricing whatsoever. They said, you have to come in. We don't talk anything over the phone, email, or anything. You have to come in, and then we can discuss it then. I'm like, well, I'm not really willing to just show up at your dealership, because it was like an hour and a half away from where I was going to be, unless I know what the deal is. I want to, make sure it's going to be worth my time going in. Well, we can't do that. I'm like, okay, well then forget about it. So I contacted a couple other dealerships, sent in my information and stuff to them, what I was looking to trade in, what vehicle I was looking for, and some of them just ghosted me. They refused to even talk. One dealership that I had actually bought my Challenger from, they called me. They said, I understand you're looking to trade in the Challenger for a new Jeep Gladiator. I said, yes. And they're like, okay, well, tell me what you want. So I told them exactly what I wanted, color, everything. And they're like, well, we don't have it because, well, supplies, there's not a huge supply of vehicles out there. So chances are you have to go someplace else to dealer trade it out. So I knew that. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt, gave him the chance, told him what I was looking for. And he's like, oh, okay, well, let me make some calls. We could probably come up with something, have one here in a day or two for you, and we can do a deal and whatnot. I'm like, oh, cool. So, at that point it was, I could do the deal before I went down to Houston, so I'd have it for my road trip coming up. So I was like, okay, cool. Never called me back. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I continued on my journey, because he was supposed to call me back in a couple hours. Nothing. I messaged him, nothing. Never heard from the guy again. So I then contacted the dealer that I ended up buying this from. So I'm like 5 or 6 dealers deep into this at this point, and just getting nowhere with any of these dealerships. And I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. I have been round and around and around with multiple different dealerships. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I have to trade in. I'm looking to find out, before I even show up, what all the fees are that you're going to charge, around about what everything's going to cost and whatnot. And they're like, okay, no problem. So they're like, we can do that, no problem. And they, you know, I sent them all the information. I sent pictures of the Challenger, and they gave me a trade-in value without me having to go there. So I knew what to expect, and it was a good trade-in value. Far more than I was going to get from the first place I had a done deal with, by thousands more. So that told me right off the bat that I was getting screwed on my trade-in. So I was like, okay, cool. Went over everything, and they sent me the breakdown of all the fees, and I was like, damn, that's a lot of fees. $2,500 in additional dealer add-on fees. And this is the thing that pisses me off about dealerships nowadays, and they're allowed to get away with it. Manufacturers cannot say a thing about it. You know, it's the same reason of why we have these huge markups on vehicles. They're hungry for money, and these fees, their whole thing was, it's automatically added to every single vehicle we sell. We don't negotiate them. They don't come off. Every vehicle gets it because this is what everybody wants anyways. Window tinting, fine. I wanted tinted windows anyways, but they're charging way too much money for it. It has a GPS tracker. I did not want it. They refused to take it out. These dealers just, at this point, I knew dealers were not going to budge on this stuff because I've been hearing horror stories all over the place. And I'm pretty much beat down at this point, and I just wanted the damn truck that I wanted. So, wheel locks, $69 wheel locks, $295. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. This so-called paint protection for $695. It's absolute garbage, and all that kid does in the wash bay is they grab the cheapest wax they have and they wax the vehicle. It's freaking ridiculous. But I will say, and I talked to a friend of mine the other day, and he told me that they were inquiring of a vehicle. The trade-in, right off the bat, $2,500 reconditioning fee on any vehicle that's traded in. They don't, without even looking at the vehicle, knowing if anything's wrong with it, $2,500. And then that used car goes on their lot with an additional $2,500 reconditioning fee tacked onto the price as one of the fees. $5,000 right off the bat? That's freaking ridiculous. But anyways, I digress. Back to my story. I wasn't getting charged that, so that's cool. So after it was all said and done, because of the amount of money I was getting for my trade-in, it was more than what the original dealer was that I spoke to, made a deal with, and it covered the cost of the add-ons that this dealer was tacking on, and then some. So my payment actually was less purchasing it from this other dealer than the original dealer that tried to screw me. And when I say it was less than the original agreed upon amount it was going to be that was approved through financing and everything. Which is another thing that pissed me off, is went through that whole process. They ran my credit 3 freaking times. 3 times they ran my credit. And nothing came about it. No deal. So I ended up accepting the deal from the dealer I bought this from. I went up there. They had the vehicle in stock. I made the deal with them. It was like right around noontime. I went up after work. I got off at 4 o'clock, and I went up there. I didn't ever test drive the vehicle because I knew it would test drive. Like they tried to get me to test drive. Like, I don't need to test drive it. But we reconfirmed everything on the deal. Everything was done, said, and over with, good to go. They threw it through the financing department, ran my credit once, and ended up getting the financing because that's not a problem. And I walked away with the vehicle. Well, drove away. That process was extremely easy. But getting to that point was extremely nerve-wracking, and I was was this close of giving up on getting the vehicle that I wanted, and I almost just simply said, screw it, I'm just going to keep the Challenger. I would have been happy with the Challenger, let's be honest. I do kind of regret getting rid of it, but at the same time, I had to get rid of it in order to get this, because I'm not in a situation where I can just have every single vehicle I've ever owned, or multiple vehicles. And it just made sense at that point. So maybe down the road I'll get another Challenger. We'll see. So I appreciate you guys listening to me bitch and complain and tell my side of the whole story. I hope you took some pointers away from it to maybe help you out if you're out there looking. And just remember, dealerships are the scum of the earth at this point. That's just my opinion. There are some good ones out there, don't get me wrong, but having worked at them, having worked in the industry for so long, and having to deal with dealerships and just my own personal experiences, it's to the point where the whole process is broken. Okay, now I'm going to go on a little bit more of a rant, and I hope you guys enjoy this. The whole process is broken. I've been seeing it from the inside, the outside, looking in, and as somebody that deals with dealerships on a daily basis. Dealerships are not out there to look after customers, their core customers, the people that keep them in business. Because they know there's always going to be customers looking to buy vehicles. It's just the nature of the beast. We basically, a vehicle is not a necessity, but it's a necessity in our lives. And people that are passionate about them, they're willing to spend way above MSRP to be the first to get these vehicles, like the Bronco, for instance. Dealers are charging up to $100,000 for the basic Bronco that starts out at like 35 grand. It's mind-boggling, and people will pay it or close to it because they want to be the first. I totally get it. But they're not out to protect you, and they don't even really care about their employees, to be honest with you. They are out for blood, and it's basically blood money, if you want to look at it that way. And they will go after that money by any means necessary. You didn't really have these problems when most of these dealerships were mom and pop dealerships. Back years and decades ago, when you bought a vehicle from a mom and pop dealership, you knew that mom and pop that owned that dealership. They were there working that dealership. They would greet their customers, introduce themselves and whatnot. And I worked at one of those mom and pop dealerships, and I can contest the fact that that's exactly what they did. They had relationships with some of their customers over the course of years, and that's how they built their business, by their reputation of taking care of their customers, giving them fair prices. And it's a dying art. It's being lost. These dealers now are being run by corporations, publicly traded corporations, and their sole purpose is the bottom line, increasing that bottom line to show to shareholders. That's the only thing they care about. And they drill into their employees' heads, mainly the managers of these dealerships, that's the sole purpose. That's what you need to do. You need to increase profit, increase. Why aren't you making me more? We have to show this to our shareholders. So they get into these predicaments where their jobs are on the line. And that's another whole other issue with dealerships, is they don't take care of their employees that much. And it's like a revolving door, basically. So these dealerships' employees, especially the higher-ups, know that they have to do everything that's necessary to increase their bottom line by any means, or they're just going to be replaced next month. They won't be there. And then they'll go to another dealership, and it's going to be the same thing all over again. Make me money, make me money, make me money. So the end result of that is screw the customer as much as possible, tack on fee after fee after fee, and these are fluff fees that are just so inflated it's ridiculous. There is no more treating the customer right. these dealerships are just taking it too far, and it's not right. And the manufacturers can't do anything about it. There's nothing they can really do. They don't have any control. They are independently owned franchises separate from the manufacturers. And they cannot hold these dealerships liable. They cannot make these dealerships sell the vehicles at the MSRP that they put on the Maroni label, which is the sticker that's on the window that tells you the breakdown of all the cost and shipping and stuff like that and gives you the final price. The dealers have the ability to add on to that, and there's nothing that can be done to stop it unless the customers finally have enough of it and they get together and have the legislation changed to restrict that, or at least to have laws put into place where maybe they can only tack on things within reason of a margin, not $69 locking lug nuts that you sell over your parts counter for $69 for $295. That's just ridiculous. You're screwing your customers. And I'm sure some of you have experienced that out there. And that's why the dealerships have such bad names. And I'm just ranting and rambling on because it just pisses me off, knowing that they tried to take advantage of me, and they're out there every day taking advantage of every one of you. So just be on the lookout if you're purchasing a new or used vehicle. You know, it's like, scrutinize everything. Don't sign anything unless you're looking at it. Don't assume that you're protected after purchasing a vehicle, even if it's a used car. In most states, there are laws that protect the dealership of holding them liable, because in most cases, that car is sold as is, as a used vehicle. Yeah, you got certified pre-owns. Yes, you have extended warranties and stuff to go on. But a lot of times, you have lemon laws, but lemon laws don't always apply to used cars. Some states, yes, for certain time frames, depending upon the mileage, this, that, and everything else. But in the most part, lemon laws don't apply to used cars, and they are considered as-is sales. So if something happens, you can't really go back and hold the dealership liable. There are some circumstances where you can, but in most, lawyers will tell you, sorry, it's a used car, there ain't really anything that can be done about it. Unless you're in one of those states where you have used car lemon laws, and you're protected for a certain time frame. So read everything you're signing, scrutinize everything, try to be strong with the fees. Some dealers will budge on them, but more and more dealers are not budging on those fees. And in some cases, you can save quite a bit of money by negotiating those fees. Try to negotiate. Try to some of them down, some of them removed, and do everything you can. So just be vigilant in that. Stay alert. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow Offbeat Motors over on Instagram. And the next video of the Jeep Gladiator, I'm going to go over some things that I don't like about it. So if you made it this far in the video, stick around for that on the next Gladiator video. Not necessarily my next video, but my next Gladiator video. Peace out, everyone.